Good afternoon. Thank you for joining the webinar, Japan's Overseas Travel Trend and How Japanese Young People View Sustainable and ASEAN Tourism, presented by ASEAN-Japan Center. My name is Naoko Fujikawa, Senior Project Manager of Tourism and Exchange Team, ASEAN-Japan Center, AGC. To start the webinar, allow me to invite Ms. Mizuho Kanda, Assistant Director, Tourism and Exchange Team, ASEAN-Japan Center, to deliver opening remarks.
Konnichiwa and very good afternoon to you. My name is Mizuho Kanda, and I'm Assistant Director of Tourism and Exchange Team of ASEAN-Japan Center. Like many of you, the last few years were very different from what I had expected. No travel, domestic or international, business or leisure. After such a long and unprecedented situation, I am pleased that borders are open and we are free to travel again. Japan is receiving many travelers since it lifted restrictions, and inbound travel number to Japan has recovered to 70% of pre-pandemic level. However, when it comes to outbound travel from Japan, the recovery is only 40% of what it used to be. We also hear that the recovery is slower compared to other source markets. In this regard, recognizing the importance of balanced two-way tourist traffic, the Japanese government has recently announced that it will support to promote outbound travel from Japan. The Japan Association of Travel Agents is also conducting an overseas travel campaign with support of NGOs, embassies, airlines, airports, and other stakeholders. Today, we will share with you the result of the survey we conducted in December 2022 for Japanese young people. There are interesting findings that may give you some ideas why recovery of Japanese outbound travel is slow and what are holding young people back from traveling abroad and what are effective ways to reach them. I hope this webinar will help you know more about the Japanese outbound travel market and Japanese young people's mindset of sustainable tourism and ASEAN tourism. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kanda-san. We may not have time to answer your question during the webinar today, but we will try to send answers by email later. So if you have any question, please use the Q&A box. Now, please welcome Mr. Naohiro Fukawa, Director of Indigo LLC, to talk on the Japan's overseas travel trend. Fukawa-san, please.
Thank you for the good introduction, and also I really appreciate all the participants today who are interested in knowing more about Japanese overseas travel and tourism market. From here on, I would like to share with you a little bit about Japanese current overseas travel market trend, and today I am using the actual news articles from Japanese travel trade media so that you can be familiar with what's going on here in Japan as a source market for ASEAN, as well as probably I probably would help you to understand better about what's going on in this overseas travel market. I just have about 10 minutes to share with you the findings and the hints here, so I'll just go quickly with the slides. The big news, as you probably have been aware, is that by the British consulting company that they do this survey every year, Japanese passport is said to be the most powerful passport ranked in 5 years in a row. And with the Japanese passport, one can travel to 193 cities out of 277 based on this, survey without any visas, which is one of the biggest issue for a lot of markets to travel to destinations. Visa is a big issue, but Japanese passport is the most powerful one. As you probably know about this too, Japanese yen has been quite weak, and this is not so good in terms of a Japanese overseas travel market when they think of going overseas. So what's happening here in Japan, as well as it will be necessary to look at the global travel and tourism situations because it changes as well. You may be familiar with these numbers. These numbers are the years when the government of respective countries liberalized overseas travel for citizens of the nations. And Japan will be celebrating its 60th year anniversary next year in 2024, having this freedom of going overseas for 60 years. Whereas all of us know that there are more Korean travelers overseas than the number of Japanese, and far more, of course, from China. So from the beginning of Japanese free overseas travel, liberalized in 1964, the number has grown, and it counted the largest number in 2019 at 20 million. But yet, is this 20 million mark good market for you? That's one of the questions or the issues that we want to talk about, because in the last almost 20 years or 19 years to be exact, South Korea actually has been sending more Korean visitors to your probably destinations than Japanese, and Taiwan almost getting close as to the number of Japanese overseas travelers. And China, of course, now the biggest sender of overseas travelers, counting 170 million travelers a year. While the global number of travelers counted from 1 billion in 2000, and it got doubled in 2019 to 2 billion. Japanese number of overseas travelers didn't even grow more than 10% plus. And talking about ASEAN people only to Japan too, has been counted 10 times as many, from 382 in 2000, and in 2019, it marked 3.9 million. So like Ms. Fujikawa said, Japanese international inbound travel has tremendously increased its number. As you can see at the top right corner, it counted only 4.5 million in 2000, and it went up to 32 million in 2019. And of course, the share of ASEAN travelers to Japan increased from 8% in 2000 to 12% in 2019. And it means, of course, the share of, let's say, the traffic between ASEAN region and Japan has changed too. So in comparison to the numbers of Japanese traveling to ASEAN in 2013, the ASEAN people to Japan counted only 1.1, while Japanese counted 4.7. So the ratio back then of the traffic was 80% Japanese traveling to ASEAN, and a total of 20 in that both way traffic, 20% of ASEAN people to Japan. And you can see the number at the bottom in 2019, Japanese increased, of course, thanks to all the efforts of ASEAN travel industry friends, to 5.6 million. But look at the number of ASEAN people travel to Japan, 3.9. So the ratio of this, both way traffic now is 60 and 40, which probably would be more of healthy numbers in comparison to the numbers before 80-20. But this shows clearly more air seats are used by ASEAN friends to travel to Japan, less seats supplied for Japanese visitors to ASEAN countries. So from here on, I will share more facts and hints, like I said in the beginning, from the travel industry on media. I am using a few news today from a Japanese travel trade news service called Travel Voice. And they have the biggest number of readership in Japan. And they also have, like I'm sharing here with you, English sites too. So it would be useful for you probably to visit their website. They update the news daily. In any case, let's start with this news that Japanese outbound travel market is still very inactive, and the growth rate to travel overseas for Japanese, while the number of air seat supply to Japanese airports are on the rise, but actually the number of travelers to overseas is not actively increasing. You can take a look at here the statistics from JNTO, Japan National Tourism Organization. On the left, you can see the number of visitor arrivals, which counted already for the first 4 months of 2023 over 6.8 million. Whereas the Japanese overseas traveler number is only remained at 2.2 million, which is minus 66% in comparison to the peak year of 2019. For instance, famous Japanese tour operators like HIS, they forecasted the only 70% fewer overseas travel bookings during Golden Week, which just passed in the beginning of May. And also there is another news that that I shared with you. The Japanese overseas traffic is still weak in March and April, and in the middle, overseas travel sales of 43 major travel companies in Japan in February still remained at the 60% minus level in comparison to 2019. Why are these things happening? Why Japanese market is not really reacting more positively to the reopening of the borders or reopening of the international travel? I would like to share with you a little bit about the history of the last 60 years of Japanese overseas travel. Please take a look at the chart at the top half. The top half is for Japanese overseas travelers, and then the bottom half is for international visitors in Japan. So let's take a look at the top half. And as we all know, the Japanese liberalization of overseas trips started in 1964. And what types of travel started then? Of course, most popular one was because of the strong economic growth in 60s and 70s and 80s. There are a lot of overseas business travels carried out from Japan to many international destinations. And then in mid 80s and after that, because overseas travel was something that everybody wanted to do, so a lot of companies for salespeople, they started to do incentive programs. And then who traveled in those different years or generations? Naturally, a lot of business travels, it consisted from male groups. And then in 80s, you might remember the word OLs, which is abbreviation of office ladies. And then university students started to travel at the end of their school year in the fourth year to create memories in March. And that started in mid 80s to 90s. And families started to travel in 90s too. And ESL programs, education programs have become quite popular in late 90s till today. And as you know, the word baby boomers, who are now like 75, but they started to retire from work at around the year 2000, and they have become one of the core segments for Japanese overseas travel. And then in 2000, especially women who have a lot of travel experiences still continue to travel overseas, and three-generation travel or grandparents and grandkids. That is another types of travel started in 2000. And those who are familiar with Japanese words, you must understand the word joshi tabi, which has been another strong market segment in Japan, which means girls travel. Next, we can see the destinations where they traveled to. In the beginning of Japanese overseas travel, of course, Hawaii and Hong Kong, those are the two major destinations. And then United States mainland, and started to gradually go over to Europe. You can understand a lot of OLs, office ladies, traveled to Europe in 80s and did a lot of, great food eating as well as brand shopping and things like that. And then after the United States and Europe, Australia and Canada came into the Japanese market. Of course, national tourism offices of those two countries did a lot of marketing together with the Japanese travel trade then. And in terms of Asia, luxury hotel stay and Asia city, and also beaches and resort stay started in mid 90s and got more popular in early 2000s. And then after that, of course, a lot of entertainment influence from Korea, K-pop, and Asian awareness to Taiwan and China. And also after visiting main European cities, people started to travel to Central and East Europe. And in 2013, when Princess Cruises started their first Japan deployment, cruise travel has gradually started to become more popular. And in the 2000s, there are a lot of things happened, of course, positive things and negative things, but all these things have either accelerated or pulled the growth back and had a lot of impacts on the growth of Japanese overseas travel market. And now we are talking about more of responsible travel as well as sustainable tourism. And the question is, who would be interested in this type of travel arrangement or destinations where they care about these types of tourism, and what we can do in order to create the field of new travel style. One other thing that everybody knows is Japan is depopulating an aging society. And the brackets in red is the target segment of the research that ASEAN-Japan Center carried out, who are Generation Z and also millennials. And another news here is the Japanese passport issuance rate drops down to only 70% in comparison to the population, which means 1 out of 6 people, or the citizens of Japan, only have passports. But the good news is those who are younger, especially in 20s and under 20s, teenagers and 30s, have the more increase of passport application. So we are looking at this Japanese Generation Z and millennials, and according to the survey carried out by Japanese tourism agency, that 90% of the young people with the past or previous overseas travel experiences said they want to travel again this year, which is a positive news. But what they care about is the security and safety through the travel in the destination. And also, something is supporting the overseas travel market here in Japan is Japan Association of Travel Agents, JATA, is starting the scheme to help support to pay half of the price for passport application. And also, airlines have started to supply more air seats. And the good news during the Golden Week, both Japanese airlines, JAL and ANA, you can see at the bottom that the flights increased, or the passenger number increased on the flights from Japan to Bangkok and Manila. You can take a look at the Travel Voice News later to know more about the details. And also, the Japanese government is promoting the Japanese outbound travel, partnering with a lot of destinations. And from ASEAN, among the 24, you can see the name of Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam, that they are working together to have the Japanese overseas travel alive again. And you can see all these partners are now working together under JATA's initiative. And you can see, familiar names. There you go, Thailand, and also soon it will come up. But isn't it amazing? There's ASEAN-Japan Center. Isn't it amazing that even though the Japanese travel market is stagnated so much, but this many national tourism offices are working together. They have offices in Japan, try to leverage the potential of Japanese overseas travel to your destinations. And the airlines there, Singapore Airlines. Okay, Vietnam Airlines there too. And one other hint here is, for instance, among those promoted or partner destinations, Singapore is tagging along with JTB to start some kind of strong campaign, which is really good, I think, destination promotion together with actual product sales promotions to convert any investment into actual travel. So I'm concluding my first half here today with this comment. Of course, I started that Japanese market changes, global situation changes. So ASEAN friends, you would probably need strategic marketing in the understanding of global positioning of your destination as well as Japan as a market. And consumer sentiment, market trends, and consumer desires that changes fluidly. So you would need to be aware about those in detail. And of course, value-added unique experiences or programs tailored to customer desire or needs would help motivate them to choose your destination. And of course, in the era of Japanese yen being weak, you probably could promote your strength as a destination for overseas travel market. And it is always better to partner with any other organizations which are putting effort into promote the overseas travel, and it would be great to work together with ASEAN-Japan Center in any kind of program that they will be carrying out. And also it is a question for you, which direction you are going to look out for, quantity or quality, and of course target those who would respect your destination and enjoy what you offer, and the segments which would contribute to support your local livelihood. So this ends my presentation, and now the microphone is back to Ms. Fujikawa. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fukawa-san, for the informative presentation. So from now on, Mr. Fukawa and I will see how Japanese young people view sustainable tourism and ASEAN tourism. First of all, let me share the outline of our survey. The ASEAN-Japan Center conducted the survey for Japanese Gen Z and millennials to find their awareness and interest in SDGs, sustainable tourism, and how they view the ASEAN member states as travel destinations. For your information, the word SDGs is well recognized in Japan. This survey was done in December to January, online and 4 group interviews. We have 1,000 respondents. Here we see who answered this survey. Majority is women, 30 to 35 years old, and employed. All of them are interested in traveling, whether overseas or domestically. Nearly half said their travel was to see historical places or specific sceneries. And some more triggers here. How do you think about this, Fuka-san? Sorry. And for ASEAN member states, the chart shows the countries they visited already. Thailand and Singapore are the top 2 countries. The chart is the country they wish to visit. We see Singapore the most popular. So here are some comments we picked up. Kasan, do you have any comment on this?
The participants or the audience, you can download the report, the full report from the URL that ASEAN-Japan Center has shared with you. So we are not going to much of the details, but from this part of the survey that you can see on the screen, this is actually from the comments from the discussion. It was surprising to know that there are still comments like, ASEAN, they think, it's kind of unsafe or like, bad air. At the same time that there were like worries of students or young people who do not have overseas travel, so they are scared of traveling. So it actually is somewhat surprising to know that Japanese mentality has not really grown from one generation before. So we can kind of summarize from the results from here that, of course, the younger, the less travel experiences. ASEAN probably would need to share more live information so that they can form better idea about the destination, as well as to, they would like to do more. But again, somebody would need to tap on their back or shoulder to say, go ahead and experience ASEAN. Thank you.
Thank you. Now let's check the image of ASEAN they have. Food got the first place. This is very much understandable. And we picked up some comments. Fuka-san, how do you see?
Actually, there was one slide skipped, but wasn't it like use of social media? So food was the most, anyways, social media, as you can see, there are difference in terms of usage of social media. So when they are encountering some kind of information, and then there is another tool when they are dreaming about the destination, and if it goes to the actual planning, that they would use some other platform. So it is very important to be always alert and send out messages through social media. But there are differences in terms of usage and tendency of the users in the young generation. So here, this is the summarize of the social media part, that it is more personalized purpose of the uses. And of course, from the lifestyle perspective, they decide where to go. So social media is as part of their built-in lifestyle already. And what is most important is the actual live comments from the discussions, that they really care about how visually it looks and if the destination or experiences are popular. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And this is on the SDGs. Now, many of them say that they understand the SDGs. And when it comes to the word sustainable, they also, majority say that they understand the SDGs. And more than half of them say that they are taking the action in their daily life that's showing the awareness of the word sustainable and SDGs. And here are their comments. And Fuka-san, do you see anything interesting from here?
Yes, thank you. So these are comments, from their daily life that they shared, how they feel about being sustainable or more being responsible in their daily life, and they actually encounter with this sustainable development goals, in short, SDGs, as Ms. Fujikawa said, from the young age or early stage of their life. So they are aware about the words, and they try to be, contribute to what they are shared in school or educations or at work, but in the reality that they are not really following up what they think that they would need to do. So let's move on to the summary of this chart, that as a social topic that they understand it is necessary and they are part of it, but in the actual, their own daily life, that they have some other views, which probably would be like you can see at the bottom, that they would put more priority to what they really want to do. And also, the younger people, the more they have close contacts, but they do not fully understand, nor they have some questions. But they have these positive attitudes that they want to try what they can do. So I think it is very good that they are aware about sustainability, and it is still a challenge for them or for all of us to see it as your own value and as part of your meaningful time in your, daily life. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There are several ways that consumer can contribute to sustainable tourism. And here we see majority of the respondents say that they prioritize the place, service, which care local products for local consumption, and have cleared certain sustainable standards. This standard can be set by service providers themselves, or it looks like that the Japanese like certificate kind of standard. Well, there are three major initiatives when we consider sustainable tourism. Environmentally friendly kind, and tourism with stable income and employment to the community, and cultural aspect that visitors respect architecture, people's life, traditional values, etc. Over 40% said cultural aspect is very necessary, but all these three are equally considered necessary. Here are picked up comments. Fuka-san, how do you see these?
I think when they hear about sustainability or being sustainable, that they tend to think it's more about protecting environment, but at the same time that they understand what they can do through travel or tourism contribution when they are visiting the destination. But yet, I think, from the comments that you can see here, and of course you can just have the handout, and they tended to kind of narrow the concept only to environment, but yet tourism, as you know, covers all the aspects of human and their life daily. So it would be necessary in terms of spreading more of the words what exactly being sustainable means to Japanese Generation Z and millennials. So here, they, like I repeat myself, that if, the understanding of being sustainable or sustainable tourism and how they can be a responsible traveler, then we saw from the comments that Japanese youth would probably do and will do and continue to do more of their efforts among what they can do in terms of contribution to sustainability. But again, they are still young, So the industry or the community would need to offer them visibly the options for them, what they can choose, and how they can contribute to sustainability through tourism. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Here, close to 70% want to do spending that will benefit to the local business they are visiting. And majorities are interested in contributing sustainability of area where they are visiting. 44% are willing to pay more for the tours with sustainable effort. And here are some comments on this matter. Fuka-san.
Again, it is very interesting to see the differences between the result of the online survey and also these are the comments from the actual discussion in person. And you can see on the online survey that they are eager or they are willing to pay more, but there are comments that they would prefer something less expensive. And that is a reality because younger people, especially students, they say they cannot afford, to pay more. But you can see, not here, but later, please go back one page that, as much, how much they can spend more on top of regular product price if that was designed for sustainable tour product. They answered the maximum was 5,000 yen, which is at the current currency rate is about $35 only. So in any case, they said that they would choose some sustainable products or destinations if that is persuasive enough for them to, either pay more or to compensate a little bit of their fun or enjoyment, or if they fully understood the meaningfulness in there, that they would choose that option. So we would say the best strategy is not really offering them the options of, say, regular products, or this is more responsible, sustainable. Probably the best option is to offer only sustainable, products to the millennials and Generation Z, and just, have the good background information and persuasive reasons why it is better for them as well as for the destination and overall for global reasons. And also there are comments that if it was something special that could be only experienced in this product or program or arrangement, they would choose it. Again, though, they emphasize that it should look visibly beautiful or great, or they can, do some kind of social media sharing. So it would be better to have more additional value matching the expectations of the market segments that you are targeting here, which is the millennials and Generation Z. Thank you.
Thank you. By now, we learned that majorities are interested in sustainable tourism. Then how they collect information on sustainable tourism initiatives? Website became the first place. And from social media, they collect information from NTOs, tourism organizations, travel media, and travel agencies. When it comes to the sustainable tourism initiatives, people think official or semi-official agencies are more helpful compared to the travel influencers. Okay, Fuka-san, at the end, do you have any suggestions from the marketing aspect, because you are teaching at some university on tourism marketing and you have many chance to talk with the university students?
Thank you. Could you please forward the slide? Yeah, this is our last slide to share with you today. And like Ms. Fujikawa said, that I am so lucky that I have the opportunities to share my experiences with young students, actually at 2 schools. From that experience, as well as the result of this survey or research, it was very interesting to know there are quite significant difference in the mind or the process of customer journey among the young people. So they simply do not plan things in detail in advance because they have grown up with smartphones, social media, and internet. So simply they can have a big wish list that they want to do this and that, but they just plan the actual action really at the last minute because they can always change communicating, getting information on social media. So that is something very different from our generation, and that's natural for their generation. And also, they have grown up in the actual comfort in their daily life for anything. So they are kind of unwilling to get out of their comfort zone. So Ms. Fujikawa shared the survey results that package tours or tailor-made tours or products are more like trustworthy. And I actually hear those voices from the young students, or not only students, those who I have some kind of chances to talk with them, that they said, okay, what is the hindrance for you to go travel overseas? Number one, again, as the same as the survey, language. And they prefer going somewhere where they can at least know that Japanese could be usable or communicatable. Also, they said they would like to use packaged tours because it is all planned and they would plan it for you and they just don't have to really do anything on their own, but they just follow the instructions. Of course, that's not everybody, but there are voices like that. So in any case, I would say national tourism offices of ASEAN in Tokyo, they are also targeting younger generations and they are putting so much effort in it. So one good thing for the destinations or travel industry friend is always to talk to national tourism organizations or offices, or get information from ASEAN-Japan Center and work together, because everybody has got different abilities to fill in order to come up with the ripple effect for your marketing investment to be converted into actual business, which probably would be the contribution to support your destination and local livelihood. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's quite interesting. So the Japanese consumers are slowly waking up. We hope that when they are fully awake, they will be quality travelers who can make their travel responsible one. Link to today's slide will be shared later. And I'm sorry for the one slide I'm missing on image of ASEAN. Okay, that's all for today's webinar. Thank you for joining. Please give us your feedback by answering the questionnaire. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Bye.